Starting conversations in English. Okay, it sounds simple enough, maybe.
Yeah, on the surface.
But for a lot of learners, that first hello, it can feel like a really big wall to climb over.
Definitely. It's intimidating sometimes.
So today we're doing a deep dive into an episode from the English podcast. We want to pull out some, really practical, easy to use tools, things you can use to just confidently start talking in normal everyday situations.
Yeah, the goal is really straightforward, isn't it?
I think so. We want to equip everyone listening with some simple, effective phrases you can use right away.
So you can move past feeling overwhelmed, maybe?
Exactly. And just start, actually communicating and connecting with people.
Makes sense. And it's interesting because these opening phrases, they seem so small, but they're really the bedrock, aren't they?
How so?
Well, they signal you're open, you're willing to engage. They basically pave the way for everything that comes next.
Right. And this English podcast episode we're drawing from, it seems like it had some great starting points.
It really did. Some solid, practical advice.
Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing they talked about was those really casual, sort of everyday greetings.
Yeah, like when you see a friend or maybe even something new, but it's a relaxed setting.
Right. And the first one they brought up was, "Hi, how's it going?"
Classic. Yeah, hi, how's it going? It's such a great all-rounder.
It feels pretty flexible.
It really is. The podcast pointed out it's similar to, "Hey, how are you?" but just a little more laid back.
A bit more informal.
Exactly. It works pretty much anywhere casual. Quick chat with a coworker, meeting someone at a party.
So it's like a friendly nod, almost. Not too heavy.
Precisely. A friendly way to acknowledge someone without being overly formal.
And the replies they suggested were super simple too, right? Things like, "I'm good, how about you?"
Or, "Not bad, how about you?"
Yeah, easy stuff. Easy to say, and it keeps the conversation alive. Doesn't just stop it dead.
Totally. For native speakers, those responses are almost automatic,
Right.
They just fulfill that social need, acknowledge the greeting, show you're interested back, but you don't need to give your life story.
Okay. Then they mentioned an even more casual one. "What's up?"
Ah, yeah, what's up?
This one definitely feels more like it's for people you already know. Yeah. Friends, maybe?
It generally does. The podcast got that right. It's most comfortable with friends or people you've got that established informal connection with.
So it's like a really quick hello.
Pretty much. A quick kind of slangy hello and a casual anything new happening. It's got roots in more informal English, but now it's everywhere in casual chat.
And the replies match that vibe too. They said, "Not much. What's up with you?"
Mirroring the question back.
Or even just a quick hey if you're, rushing past something.
Absolutely. Depends on the context, doesn't it?
It really does.
If you think about how they function, "Hi, how's it going?" feels like a slightly bigger invitation for a quick chat.
Whereas "what's up" can be.
Yeah, often just a quicker acknowledgement. Understanding those little nuances, those sort of unspoken social cues, helps you figure out what's appropriate.
Right. Reading the room.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. What if you haven't seen someone for a bit? Maybe after the weekend, or you bump into them after a holiday.
Ah, good scenario.
The podcast suggested, "How have you been?"
Yeah, that's a really useful one. It directly acknowledges that gap, that time since you last spoke.
Shows you noticed they were gone, kinda.
Exactly, and that you're interested in catching up, even just for a moment.
And the response they suggested was pretty standard again. "I've been good, thanks. How about you?"
Polite, keeps the door open.
But they also recommended adding maybe a little extra detail, like, "I've been really busy," or "It's been great."
I think that's a great tip.
Why is that?
Because adding that small piece of information, it just makes the exchange feel a bit more personal.
Yeah.
Less robotic.
Yeah, I can see that.
And it gives the other person a little hook, an opportunity to ask a follow-up if they want. If you say, "I've been really busy," they might go, "Oh yeah, what have you been up to?"
Right. Opens up the conversation naturally.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've got casual hellos, we've got catching up after a break. What about the big one? Meeting someone for the very first time.
The introduction. Yeah.
The podcast highlighted the classic. "Nice to meet you."
You can't go wrong with that one, really. It's fundamental. Universally understood, polite, gives a good first impression.
They also mentioned, "It's great to meet you." Is that different?
Slightly warmer, perhaps. A bit more enthusiastic, maybe. But essentially, they do the same job. Acknowledge the introduction positively.
Okay. And this is maybe where some learners start to feel a bit Nervous.
Understandably.
You said your nice to meet yous, and then silence. What next?
Haha, yeah, the dreaded silence.
The podcast suggested some standard follow-ups, like where are you from or what do you do?
Common questions.
Now, I wonder, for some learners, could those feel a bit too direct, asking personal stuff right away?
That's a really valid point. And it's true that directness varies across cultures. In many English-speaking contexts, these are seen as standard getting-to-know-your questions, ways to find common ground quickly.
So maybe not too personal in those contexts.
Generally not, but it's always good to be mindful. However, like the podcast implied, practicing these makes them feel less awkward. They become your go-to starting points that usually lead somewhere else anyway.
Okay, so you've managed the hello, you've done the nice to meet you, maybe asked a basic question. How do you keep it going? How do you stop it fizzling out?
The art of conversation maintenance.
Yeah, especially if you feel like you're running out of steam.
Well, this is where finding those shared interests, that common ground, is key. The podcast suggested asking simple, relatable things.
Like what?
Like, do you like music? Or maybe, what's your favorite movie?
Okay. Low stakes questions.
Exactly. Low pressure, but they can reveal a connection really quickly if you both happen to love, I don't know, sci-fi movies.
Right. Suddenly you've got loads to talk about. Directors, actors, favorite scenes.
Precisely. It opens up a whole new avenue. They also mentioned, what do you like to do in your free time?
That feels a bit deeper, maybe?
It does. It gets more into personal interests, hobbies, passions, a good way to move beyond surface-level chat and actually learn about the person.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's not just about firing questions at them, is it?
Oh, definitely not. Listening is just as important, if not more so.
And the podcast mentioned showing you're listening, using phrases like,
Yeah, things like, I see, or, oh, really? Simple acknowledgments.
little noises that say, I'm here, I'm engaged.
Exactly. They're crucial cues. They tell the speaker you're paying attention, encourage them to keep going. These small things make a huge difference to the feel of the chat.
And also showing actual interest, maybe some excitement. They mentioned, wow, that sounds interesting.
Yes, or that's awesome, that kind of thing.
That injects a bit of positive energy, doesn't it?
It really does. Enthusiasm is contagious, right? When you react positively, it makes the conversation more enjoyable for everyone and encourages the other person to share more.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of phrases, some good tips. If you had to boil it down, what's the main takeaway for someone listening who still feels a bit hesitant about starting conversations?
I think the most important point, and that the podcast really stressed this too, is, well, it's okay to make mistakes.
Right, it's part of learning.
Absolutely. It's a completely normal, actually essential part of learning any language. You can't get comfortable without practicing, and practice means inevitably you'll stumble sometimes.
So don't let the fear of messing up stop you.
Exactly that. Don't let the fear paralyze you. Every single time you try, even if it feels awkward or you forget a word, you are making progress. You're building that confidence brick by brick.
Yeah, I like that. That encouragement to just do it feels really key. They said something like, every time you use a phrase, it gets easier, more natural.
It does. Repetition builds fluency. It's
Yeah.
not just about knowing the phrase in your head. It's about getting it out, using it in a real situation. These simple openers are your way in.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap then, drawing from that English podcast episode. We've looked at some really foundational phrases. We had, hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
For those casual everyday moments, what's up? For when it's even more informal, with people you know well,
Right.
how have you been? For reconnecting after a little while.
Good one.
And the absolute essential, nice to meet you when you're introduced to someone new.
Those are your starter tools, basically, your building blocks.
And the really crucial next step.
is actually using them. Like the podcast encouraged, we'd really urge you, if you're listening, try one out today.
Just one.
Just one. With a friend, a colleague, the barista, whoever, see what happens. You might just surprise yourself how easy it can be to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just think about this. How many chances to connect or to learn something or just have an interesting interaction are you maybe missing out on? Just because initiating feels a bit daunting. Mastering these simple openers, it's not just about ticking an English skills box.
No, it's much bigger than that.
It's about opening yourself up to, well, a whole world of potential conversations and connections. So, yeah, go for it. Start a conversation.